another week in our lives. My good friend Larry Johnson here. Larry, what do you
You're
know? We are at war.
you're as blitzing by, huh? Yeah, yeah. We gotta keep that economy going.
Yeah,
War, war is the lubricant for a vibrant economy. So this,
exactly. But yeah, I understand that war makes a vibrant economy if you make weapons. But what
yes,
about tariffs? Now we are at war, me and you, Brazil and United States. Well, of course, not me and you. We
it's
are we are
part of that
buddies.
Donald Trump diplomacy. How to lose friends and win enemies.
Well, there is a diplomacy tactics there. You just reveal it.
Yeah. You step back and just it's astonishing to watch Trump take turn opportunity into disaster. You know, he was really in a position to have brought an end to the war in Ukraine and an end to the war in against the people of Palestine. And instead, what he's done is continue to pour gasoline on the fire, letting it burn hotter and longer. And that'll be his legacy. It's one thing to talk peace; it's another thing to make it happen. People, and he's constrained in part because of the domestic political pressure. The Zionist lobby exercises enormous control and influence over the U.S. political system, but it's starting to come into to discredit itself because you've got a lot of, particularly on social media, people that have a big footprint like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens are increasingly calling him out. And then I just saw today that one of these, Zionist crazies, this David Friedman, was calling for Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson to be locked up in prison for a long time and tortured. What a son of a bitch. Just, there's the words I have to describe that miscreant you really shouldn't be used in polite company.
I was reading your article that you wrote yesterday or today, 2 days ago. Uh, you know, telling large part of the world has no idea about Zionism.
Mm-hmm.
it, I think you just spot on when you said right now that people are getting to know it. It's a long process, but 3 years ago I had no idea what was Zionism. 2 years ago I had no idea what was Zionism. Until the first time we talked,
Yeah.
I had no idea what was Zionism. And right now, people like me and so many others, it's so diluted now about people talking about Zionism, about and everybody do not get confused with Judaism. It's separate things.
Right.
One thing is the religion. Another thing is 2 or 3 weeks ago you actually mentioned that the most dangerous Zionists are actually the evangelicals.
Well, yeah, on the Christian side, within the realm of the people who are identified as Jews,
Mm-hmm.
it was Zionism came to be in the late 19th century, and it was actually sort of inspired. Let's call it inspired by Karl Marx and the Communist Manifesto. That's why you saw a lot of times early in, you had Theodor Herzl was really seen sort of as the father of Zionism. And it's really fascinating that the founders of the Zionist movement were not religious Jews. They did not believe that the Torah was a book that was given to Moses by God. That God was dictating and Moses was writing away. Nobody asked the question, well, what was he writing with? Bic pens didn't exist back then. I'm not sure they had quill and ink. So was he just with a little hammer and chiseling away into stone? It's ridiculous. It's just,
like those guys on the courtyards.
yeah. It's just ridiculous. But that's what they. So the premise of it is this religious, this claim that this is divinely created, that this comes from a deity, a great spiritual power, and therefore these Jews are entitled to special rights over a land because God gave it to them, but the guys making that argument don't believe in that God. So, it's completely contradictory. Within the Christian movement, instead of Christianity recognizing that what Jesus brought was a complete rejection of the Old Testament or Old Covenant, as it's called, of the Torah, that this notion that there's one special people, there's not one special people. It is that all people are creation or a creation of the deity and reflect the light of that deity, regardless of whether they're born into a Jewish family, a Christian family, a Muslim family, a Hindu family, a Buddhist family, a Taoist family. Go through the list. But they've got themselves, politicized to the point that these Christian evangelicals who are obsessed with Zionism, and one of the most prominent examples is Mike Huckabee, the current U.S. ambassador to Israel. I mean, he's crazy. He's nuts on this stuff, but he really believes it. He's sincere. Oh my God, this is, I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and he's a little older than me, a couple of years older. But so that means, I'm 70, he's 72. And we are of the generation what I call the Exodus generation. So have you ever seen the movie Exodus with Paul Newman and Marie Saint? What's her name? What was her first name? Anyway, you've never seen that movie, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have seen it?
Yeah, it's a very old movie, but I have seen
it. Okay. Well, but that movie, in effect, propagandized a generation, because the theme of it was, here were these oppressed refugees who had barely survived the Hitler's efforts to exterminate them. And they were on this boat, the Exodus, to find liberty and freedom in Israel. And within that movie, they present sort of what I call the good Arabs, the ones who were, giving up their land happily to the Zionist settlers. And then you get the bad Arabs. And so it really was an updated version of David versus Goliath, with Israel being David and those nasty Arabs as the mean, vicious Goliath. And again, the sort of, I'll call it racist subtones that were in the movie, because they had this Danish girl named Karen. I forget what the actress's name was, but she was this petite little blonde, very cute. When you're 12-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy watching it, you're in love with her. She's great. And the end of the movie is she ends up getting murdered, and the implication raped by those nasty Arabs. But all the settlers come up, they throw a shovel of dirt and then grab their guns. They're going to go off and fight them Arabs. Okay, so that whole mentality infused much of the United States and Europe. It didn't really reach Africa and Asia, but that became sort of undergirded a lot of the ideology to build the case for supporting Israel. Then that was accompanied by the multitude of movies about the Holocaust, again designed to portray the Jews as the ultimate victims, and they were no denying they were definitely singled out in a special way for attack. But 6 million of them died compared to 27 million Russians. Russia can make a case that that was a bit of a holocaust for Russia. China, roughly 20 million people. So, but
India
didn't have that many.
No, not that many, but still, still a lot of people.
Yeah, but when you just the scale of what happened in both Russia and China is unmatched by any of the other countries combined. Because if the estimate is 60 million people died in World War II, we'll just do the math. 47 of 60, almost 90%. So we're right now saddled with this intellectual baggage. Now, basically, people who are your age and younger haven't been brainwashed in that way, and they're becoming more resistant to being subjected to this propaganda. And that's why you see a lot of young Jewish students protesting the Zionist genocide campaign, and then being accused of being anti-Semites. That's what's really sort of they're very loose in how they define it. So basically, if you're a critic of Israel, you're an anti-Semite. So I'm an anti-Semite. Not real. I mean, it's like you don't come up to people and say, "Are you a Jew?" Oh, I don't like. Come on.
There's a big difference also between being Jew and being a Semite. So
yeah. I mean that genetically, the reality is that the Palestinians, if this is just about blood and heritage, then the Palestinian people actually share more genetically with those who were the original inhabitants of the land, or the inhabitants of the land 2,000 years ago, as opposed to the current crew that comes out of North Africa or out of Europe, Ashkenazi out of Europe. So it's just, this, the whole ethnic genetic heritage of this is ascribed to, again, it goes back to, do you take the Torah literally? And I know I upset a lot of very devout Christians and people who take that book seriously, but they don't step back to say, okay, let's objectively look at it. The promises were made to Abraham. Abraham only had one son named Isaac, right? Oh, no, he had another son.
And the elder one,
Ishmael, right? And the other son went on to be seen as the father of what we now call the Arabs. So basically what we're looking at is a family feud. Cousin against cousin, albeit, generations removed, but it's a family feud. And it's so stupid. But it certainly was stacking up a body count. And I think, candidly, the religious dimension of this is being cynically used by people with nothing but financial interests, and saying if they can exploit the situation, create violence, create mayhem, create chaos, and then get in there and figure out how they're going to profit off of this.
Just last week we had this ambassador to Israel, basically treating the countries as real estate. He was using this term, real estate. This real estate cannot be owned by two different people. Countries are not real estate, dude.
Yeah. No, it is. We're subjected to a narrative that comes from a particular ideological perspective, and it ends up shaping a lot of policy.
Yeah, Yeah, it's amazing. It's just I have no words because it in the end is also stupid. But let's talk a little bit about Brazil, dude. It's last week we had this conversation about this stupid post of Donald Trump, about Bolsonaro and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I understand that Trump has been persecuted and then he can treat this personally. But then he makes an official United States policy to attack economically Brazil using, because if you read the text of the decree, he basically copy and pasted the post from Truth Social. So
Yeah, yeah,
the president of United States is tweeting, which is already, not serious. It's tweeting, and then he copies a tweet, a Truth Social post, and pastes on a decree that he cites, and that's foreign affairs politics, and attacks a country that has very good relations with the United States. He lies that the United States has a deficit
yeah.
trade with Brazil. That's a lie. You can, anyone that's going to watch this show can go to the Atlas of the Economic Complexity from Harvard. It's not Brazilian, it's not Russian, it's from Harvard, and you can check from the last 30 years that Brazil is deficitary at least $10 billion a year on this trade with the United States. But all right, he starts that. What do you think he's aiming for that? Because it cannot be serious politics. It cannot be internal. Yeah, we need to rebuild the country. We already had this conversation. We need to rebuild the country, and then we should spend less and buy less. And but that has nothing to do with Brazil. Brazil, it's a profitable country for the United States. What's he's aiming for that?
Well, no, it's to try to break away BRICS, break Brazil away from BRICS. I've always viewed Lula as a little bit of like a Tayyip Recep Erdogan kind of guy. Not entirely trustworthy, very self-interested with his own agenda. And, he'd given lip service to BRICS, but not necessarily guaranteed that he would have been full on board. And I don't mean to suggest that Bolsonaro would have been a different problem for BRICS. But what Trump did in launching this kind of attack on Lula, he ended up energizing and basically pissing him off to a point that
Hell yeah!
that now, whereas before he would have been like, it's like I've got two dogs, and there's a dog toy laying between them, and until you go to try to grab the toy, they don't care about it. But man, once you grab it, they want it. I want that. And that's what I see what Trump has accomplished with Lula in this. That he's now that, Lula was maybe lukewarm with respect to BRICS, not a diehard. Trump provided every proof that anybody would need that Brazil cannot be subject to this kind of coercion, threats, and bullying. Stupid on Trump's part. Stupid. Because you correctly know, Brazil's running a surplus. I guess that, which means, with respect to the United States, which means that Brazil was running a deficit and on its side with the U.S. But, this is all, the BRICS movement is turning out to be more lucrative now for Brazilians, because previous sales, I think it was soybean and wheat. I have to go back and double check. But that used to be, the primary source for China's, China was buying it primarily out of the United States. China now has dramatically cut back its purchases of wheat and soybeans and are getting it from Brazil and Russia. and accepting payment in local currencies. And that's why also the shift to these currencies backed in gold. What a, just a crazy policy on the part of Trump. So
we need to get more stuff to talk about, Larry, because every week that we talk about, you just said, the stupid decision from Trump. Do we have any smart ones so far? It's kind of hard. But I have to give you something. I have to give you something. And people will hate that I say that. I'm not pro Lula nor pro Bolsonaro. I'm pro Brazil. I don't care who's the president. I don't give a damn. But I have to give something to Bolsonaro. He had made one promise that was to unite the country. And now he did it.
Yeah.
In hate, which is much more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, Trump actually did Bolsonaro a real disservice by that kind of attack. That outside, because all of a sudden, the average Brazilian, Bolsonaro is the U.S. bitch.
Hell yeah.
That he's not for Brazil. He's for the U.S. Good God. That's where you got to think these things through. So, because what are the secondary and tertiary consequences of the United States going in and making an attack on behalf of Bolsonaro against the current government? External enemies like that always end up uniting the people. External attacks, always.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is very interesting, Larry. We just had a live stream this weekend, a huge live stream, 4 hours plus, with everybody speaking for like 5 to 10 minutes. So imagine how many people came, and all the spectrum from the politics came to this without a fight, without arguing. We just, we have to unite. We have to find a common ground. Let's put shit aside. We have to find a common ground now. And most of the people that were on the live stream, and even the leftists on this are very, very critical of Lula's government.
Mm-hmm.
But they say, I saw one thing, and I follow Lula on Twitter, and it's just shameful. It's all emotions and sad music and stuff like that. For the first time, I saw a very strong response on Twitter from Lula's account. Is like the presidential account. It's not him tweeting in the toilet while taking a dump. It's marketing people. A very strong response to the tariff, and a response in English. Lula does not tweet in English. Macron, he always put on the language that he's
right.
Lula never did that. The first time, and I was like, now we're talking.
But what did he say?
Well, he basically said that I will send you the tweet and you read it through. But he said that Brazil, concerning the social media stuff that Trump alleged against Brazil, he said Brazil has its own laws and does not comply with minor, what's it called? Minor abusements and pornography and stuff like that, and dealing and bullying and all that stuff. He just made the point that I just said, that Brazil is not deficitary to the United States. It runs a surplus to the United States, so that's a lie, basically. And that Brazil will respond in the economic base of equality, equivalence. So you put 50%, we're going to put 50% on you. It's all right.
Yeah.
And here we go again with China.
Yeah.
It's going to be rising until someone say, this is just stupid. It's already stupid, 50%. It already makes very little sense. But one point that is very important that you mentioned, we always talk about Lula, Bolsonaro, and stuff like that. But the oligarchy behind these people, they are pissed off. the agriculture business and industrial business as well. They are pissed off, and they are right now. They are looking. We are doing much better business with China.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you don't get the drama.
They don't get the drama.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is uh, BRICS now. It was dismissed as a joke even 2 years ago by the U.S. But now I think there's sort of a slowly growing recognition that, God, these people are serious, and if they go through with this, it could actually undermine the U.S. economic dominance in the world, which is financial and through the banks, but it is the top of the top 5 banks in the world. 3 of them are Chinese, one of them's U.S. I forget what the other nationality is, but the world's changing and moving away from the U.S. control that we've enjoyed over the last really 70 years, my lifetime. Call that the American century, from 1941, the start of World War II, with U.S. and entry into World War II, until today, where we're seeing the U.S. ability to control and influence events slipping from its grasp, and its initiatives, instead of it's creating motives for other countries to oppose the United States.
Yeah, exactly. Just one last data that I think it's important to mention. While I was looking at this Harvard Atlas of economic complexity, I was checking the history. The last 20 years, 20 to 30 years. I think it goes as far as 1993. So,
32,
20,
32 years.
yeah, 32 years. Yeah, but it ends at 2023. So,
okay, 30 years. Yeah.
So the last 30 years, and we get from 93. United States being part of the economic balance of Brazil, something like 25%. Selling and buying of the entire economy, while China in 93 was about 2%.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the United States is in selling and buying around 10%, and China is 26.
Yeah.
So right now, people, even, like that, people are saying we are making even more money there. And for Brazil, China is for Brazil is running a surplus, the trade with China. And people are not doing very good math.
Yeah. Well, no, the United States, its declining literacy rate helps to explain part of that. Can't read, can't do math, getting stupider, not smarter.
Well, at that point, I cannot brag about Brazil. So let's move to the next point. Larry, Epstein's ongoing stuff, because people thought that we were not going to talk about Epstein anymore because they said that there is no such thing as a list, an island. He just auto-deleted.
Yeah,
How's this going?
You're saying Jeffrey? Who's that? Yeah, nothing to see
what
here.
did I say?
Are you still talking about that guy? He's a creep.
He's a creep. Stay away from me.
No, it's a fascinating story. The person who's actually the best informed and able to talk about it in depth with great the history and all the names is Ryan Dawson. His channel you can find on Rumble and BitChute. But Ryan is the one who actually identified the names of the clients that were on the Epstein list. So I think there are 2 possible things going on here. Number one, let's recognize that when Epstein was arrested for the second time, the first one had been back in like 2006. The second time was when Donald Trump was president, and Epstein was in prison and lasted 36 days before he wound up dead, or allegedly dead. So the role of Epstein, that Trump now wants to pretend that there was no client list. Well, we can go through the court cases where J.P. Morgan, I believe, J.P. Morgan Chase, the bank, ended up paying $75 million. Was it 75? Yeah, I think it was 75 million in a defamation case brought by one of the women who had been sex trafficked by Epstein. And in that court case, and in the legal documents submitted there, they listed names of very prominent businessmen. Also on that list are the names of three Israeli former prime ministers, including Ehud Barak and Ehud Olmert. And there were photos of Ehud Barak entering Jeffrey Epstein's mansion in New York City with other underage girls. So what are the possibilities? What is clear is that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad intelligence asset.
No. I have to cut you there, because just today we have a tweet from Naftali Bennett.
Oh yeah, I know. Screw him.
Yeah. And I retweeted that. Naftali Bennett just came to public to say that Epstein never worked for Mossad.
Yeah.
Which I think it guarantees that Epstein worked for the Mossad.
Yeah, this was Epstein's principal job was to compromise the very wealthy benefactors of the Democrat and Republican parties in the United States. He wasn't so much trying to blackmail politicians. If you control the money guys, if you control the guys that provide the money to the politicians, then you control the politicians. I mean, it's very smart. I got to give Israel credit, for the Zionists credit for such a very shrewd, sophisticated operation. So the question you have to ask, and the reason this question arises, is that there's photographs online comparing the alleged body of Jeffrey Epstein on a gurney coming out of the jail, a side profile, with another photograph of Epstein in the same sort of profile, the side. And what you immediately notice is the nose and the ear is different. So what I'm suggesting is that this entire affair of Epstein being arrested and charged, because he was arrested and charged by the Southern District of New York. Well, there is evidence, flight logs of 3 people on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein flying from the island into, I believe it was Norway. My business partner has the actual evidence on this. It was given to him by a government official in Norway. And what it shows is that on that plane were Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, and former FBI Director James Comey. Now, what does this have to do with the Southern District of New York? One of the attorneys in the Southern District of New York is James Comey's daughter. So going after Epstein, had a political dimension to it. Now, however, what I think is plausible. There are only 2 real possibilities. The notion that Epstein committed suicide, nonsense. Either Epstein was killed in prison to shut him up, or this entire thing was staged in order for him to be taken out of the country and basically, put under another identity get some cosmetic surgery, change his appearance, retire him, but that the Mossad was protecting one of its assets. So, two possibilities. But what Trump is doing, trying to pretend that this thing never existed and is not a problem, is just a lie. And he has genuinely outraged a significant portion of his base.
I have thought that before. I never spoke about this here because it's too conspiracy theories. But that makes perfect sense with that 1 minute video missing from the cell.
Well, it's not just not just the 1 minute missing. The entire video was manipulated, and
Okay.
and it doesn't really show the cell. What it is it's a camera that looks like it's in the sort of the entryway into that prison, into that wing of the prison, and you can just sort of see people moving. It proves nothing. Proves absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but since that was the point, if you have already someone inside, another cellmate or something like that, that's going to do that, I think you can pretty much do that with the system. Open doors,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You don't need to cut the video because it's not getting the doors; it's getting the entrance. But 1 minute, that's kind of enough for someone to just walk away.
Yeah. So it is covering up for this pedophilia ring, and like one of the names that's on the list of being Jeffrey Epstein's, let's call them clients, and one of the people that was being filmed, Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, a strong Trump supporter. Well, remember several years ago he got arrested over just south of Jacksonville, Florida, in a massage parlor, a Chinese massage parlor or Oriental massage parlor. It's just and he gets away with it. Absolutely gets away with it.
You have Prince Andrew, just being pardoned by Trump. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I blame the pandemia time because I wasted a lot of time watching Netflix at that time, and there is a documentary on Netflix about that. It's very, and I remember saying that last year, if I'm not mistaken, that girl Virginia Giuffre,
Giuffre,
she self-deleted.
Yeah.
And when I said it, I think I have a show about that, but I will not be sure. I may have just thought about that. I say they are going to cold case this Epstein stuff. They are starting. They're preparing.
Oh yeah, trying to make it go away. So this, the fact that all this news broke on the day that Bibi Netanyahu appeared in Washington, I don't believe in coincidence. I think that was, that was why they were saying, "Hey, nothing to see here, move along," because further investigation to this would have exposed Israeli complicity with Epstein, and Trump is trying to keep that out of the limelight. Now, there's strong debate among some about that. Trump was on the list, and that's why he's shutting it down. I don't believe that for a minute. In terms of, I don't believe he was a client of Epstein in that regard. He had had a relationship with Epstein before, no denying that. But if there was actual information that you could show that Trump was having sex with underage girls, you didn't have to release the whole Epstein list. All the Biden administration had to do was simply put that information out. If they had credible evidence of that, it would have destroyed Trump for God's sake, the Democrats have been working overtime using every possible thing in the book to destroy him. And if they had that kind of, some say, oh, well, they didn't release it because there were also Democrats on it. Oh, please. Spare me male bovine excrement. You can cover up the Democrat. You can protect the people you want to protect and just selectively put out that information without having to acknowledge that you're only putting out selective information. So that's why this, the whole Trump derangement syndrome's off the charts. They just, they refuse to use some logic and common sense. But I think Trump is compromised by the Zionists because he's had long-standing ties to the Chabad community in New York City and involved with previous real estate deals. Feels maybe some obligation there. And I'm not suggesting that Trump is clean in all of this, but basically the lines of attack that would be most effective in damaging Donald Trump would require an attack on Zionists and Israel. And that's why he's able to survive.
Yeah, that's all. Basically, stop talking about it, that it goes away. Right?
Yeah.
Larry, do you have time for one last question?
If you insist. Yeah, I do.
I am not sure what was the big deal that Trump was supposed to bring out yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I think he's well, I heard that he said that United States is going to sell weapons to NATO, but was it about it? The super stuff about Russia and what?
Are you familiar with a song? It's funny, it came out well before you were born, but it was in the 60s. And a woman by the name of Peggy Lee. She sang this song, Is That All There Is?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Is that all there is? Is that all there is? Well, that was my reaction. I heard her voice in my brain after Trump got done with this. Because he'd built up this announcement. Oh man, or a big announcement, a big, huge, gigantic, gargantuan announcement about Russia. Everybody said, oh my God, what's he going to do now? And so he says, okay, NATO, which we control, the United States, is now going to buy from the United States all these weapons, but we're not sure which weapons they're going to buy because we're not sure we can produce any of them, but they're going to buy them. And what they may do is they'll take the money from frozen Russian accounts. But anyway, they're going to buy them and then give them to Ukraine. So, hey, we're making money off of this. Well, Mr. President, what weapon systems are you going to send? I don't know. They don't know.
Attacking ones, ones that kill people.
Well, it said, no, they've been clear. Oh, no, defensive. Because
defensive.
You saw Marco Rubio started, these weapons, I mean, defensive, it was like, yeah, okay. Trump allegedly said, yeah, we'll send 17 Patriot missile batteries. Well, it's estimated the United States only has in its total inventory 60. Sending 17, between 50 and 60. Sending 17 would be the equivalent of sending almost a third of the U.S. capability, which means there's nothing left over for Taiwan or Israel, not to mention our own forces. And then you get to the issue of the supply of missiles for those batteries. I mean, it's just, so it's a meaningless gesture. And then he said, and we're giving Russia 50 days to come to their senses about a ceasefire, or else what? Oh, I can't tell you. Top secret. It's just so it really was a bit of a nothing burger. And the Russians are already, I saw Lavrov is already making fun of it, saying, you've heard this before, 24 hours, 100 days, 50 days, it's just one more meaningless deadline.
Yeah. Exactly. I was watching Alexander Mercury just today, yesterday's program actually, and he was mentioning an article that I don't remember the outlet, which was analyzing the North American uh, foreign policy,
Uh-huh.
strategy as being together, united, and always speaking strong. So I was like, okay, so the foreign the foreign policy of the United States being stubborn. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
All
it's
right.
just um, yeah, what actually Trump is, as I said at the outset, he is perfecting the art of losing friends and making enemies. So, with Europe is supposedly our ally, yet we're slapping 30% tariffs on them and doing the same to Canada and to Mexico and creating animus. As you pointed out, what's happened to Brazil? He has actually finally helped unite the Brazilian people, supporting Lula, uh, distancing themselves from Bolsonaro, and despising Trump. Well done, Mr. President.
Well done. Well done. It's very hard to convince people that Brazil is the enemy. We're kind of nice guys. Everybody
Yeah,
likes us.
yeah. You just, uh, you know, go to the beach, drink some coffee, eat a good uh, churrasco.
Great churrasco, not good. Great.
Yeah, I know.
First show,
Yeah,
first show. You said here, our churrasco is better than Argentinians.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. It is the quality of the Brazilian meats is you know superior to that of Argentina, and Argentina is pretty damn good. So, yeah, I give them. And then you get feijoada. So,
Yeah, and they don't do the disgusting culinary things that we do. Larry, may I have one question from someone that is asking a lot of questions here? That's very quick. It's she's asking Felicia Hachne. She's asking that the United States is a very divided country right now. Is
mhm.
there a possibility for Trump to be impeached, or is that would that be a good thing?
uh,
Let's.
no, no. If you go out for Trump's going to have to do something really egregious. While some have said he should be impeached over um, this whole Jeffrey Epstein business, um, which I would support, but it's only going to turn Trump into a more sympathetic figure and actually maybe rally some support for him. So you just got to step back and let Trump destroy himself, which he's doing. He is shredding his credibility with each passing day.
And not his own credibility, but also the Zionism and the international affairs, and the super duper what's it called, the indispensable country,
Indispensable nation. Yeah,
indispensable nation.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's, well, not awesome. Larry Johnson, my great friend. I'm sorry I hold you for too long today,
Oh no,
but
that's good. I still have other things to do, but it's always a pleasure to sit down with you.
it's always a pleasure to have conversations with you, man.
Yeah. Tu-
And thank you very
Tuesdays
much.
we call it Tuesdays with Marcelo.
Tuesdays with Marcelo
Martes
and enchiladas.
martes martes con Marcelo.
Marte, I like that. I like that. I have
Yeah,
to write that down.
yeah,
This should be a show name. Martes with Marcelo.
yeah. There it is.
Larry, I'm
Don't
writing it
say
down.
don't say I never gave you anything.
You gave me every Martes with Marcelo
All
for the
right, my
last
friend.
year almost, I
Yeah.
think. Larry Johnson, my great friend, thank you very much. Everybody, remember to like, share, subscribe. If you want to help the channels with, super chats and contributions, you know also how to help Larry. you have the sonar21.com, where you
Sonar21.com. Go there.
go there. You have all his videos. Now it's very well organized with the sidebar as well.
Yeah, yeah.
All the videos from all the platforms. Go there, subscribe, and
It'll take you to on YouTube. You can go to Countercurrents.
countercurrents.
I got an interview up there with Andrei Martyanov. Yeah, I've got 47,000 views so far, so that's pretty good.
Whoa, that's awesome. Well, 47 and 1 now because I have to watch. I haven't watched that one yet.
Oh, okay. And then probably tomorrow I'll be posting my interview I did yesterday morning with Alistair Crook.
Oh, Alistair's interviews are also
yeah,
always fantastic.
Alistair is a phenomenal analyst.
It's phenomenal. And a gentleman.
Yes,
and,
yeah,
and a perfect gentleman.
Yeah, very, very Irish. He is Irish by birth, and so he's not saddled with all that British pomp and circumstance. Just a congenial Irishman.
Congenial Irishman.
Yeah.
Big regards for him next time you talk to him.
Larry
Right, Johnson.
Okay,
thank
buddy.
you very much, man.
All right, we will talk later. Obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado.
Okay.
Bye, everybody. See
Ciao.
you.